Hello and welcome to Wake Up and Live with the Arts. I'm Sue Johnson, your co-host, along with Gary Webster, co-host, and we're going to be sharing our time today here at Rainey, our host and sponsor for this show. We're going to be spending our time talking to Lee Lazar, the executive director, and a fabulous violinist, Anele.
You know, it's being able to do many things within the circle of music is a beautiful thing. Like today, I have a lot of people that I've met personally whom I think are a great influence on me. First of all, my professor in South Africa, Professor Jack de Vet, he's 87 this year.
Oh, good.
And the strong sense amount of wisdom to guide me on which path to take. And Maxime Vengerov, I played for him when I was 16 when he came to South Africa. He's a phenomenal violinist. I look up to him, and on the side he still exhibits a normal life with 2 children and a family, which I think is a beautiful thing. And you have Julian Rachlin, who's a wonderful interpreter, who's got a festival in Dubrovnik, who's a perfect gentleman. You know, so there are all these things that I take from everybody.
Like a recipe, a little bit of this.
A little bit of this, because at the end of the day, I want to be a complete human being. I love music very much, but I would not give all of what I have to music. I wish of those things that to sustain the playing, the teaching, while meanwhile you can have a family and, you know, and do all of those sorts of things. Yeah?
And as we begin to wrap up this segment, have you done any composing yourself? Are you doing any of your own music yet?
No, I have not done any of my composition. I would not like to insult the great Beethovens and that. So I leave that up to them, and I'll try and interpret their music. But there are some of my friends in South Africa, like VM Kizwana, who's a double bass player. I've played with him in orchestra many times, who composed a string quintet, Spirit of the South, which we played together last year. And he was on the double bass. Yeah, phenomenal composer. So I'm always interested in looking up new works that are composed by young South African composers.
Okay, and one last question as we begin to thank you and Lee especially for bringing you to us. I know South Africa is a huge place, but have you had the thrill of meeting and or performing for Nelson Mandela or Bishop Tutu?
Yes,
at all?
Mr. Tutu, Mr. Bishop Tutu is about 25 minutes drive from where I live.
Okay.
And I encountered Mr. Tutu. I've met Mr. Tutu on several occasions. And I mean, I'm sure he does not remember me because he meets so many people every day of his life.
But you never know.
Yeah. And Nelson Mandela, I played for him when I was 11 years old.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
He came to our school where I started playing violin. And yeah, I've been fortunate. But when you're a child, sometimes, you know, you don't know. Realize, you don't realize this thing.
Okay, well, listen, folks, we have somebody who we're very honored to have here in Rainey and Cleveland and the United States. And keep your eyes open for Anele. Yeah, that. When you see in fact, when you look at his name, it looks almost Hawaiian, because I was tempted to call him something like Mahalo for his last name. So be on the lookout while he's here in this country. Are you scheduled for New York, Juilliard, Lincoln Center, or anything like that?
I've quite a few friends around the United States. I've not put some dates down, but I'm trying to work out things first in Cleveland, because I'm visiting here, and
this is your commitment, for now.
This is my commitment. That I'm in love with Cleveland, and hopefully, if through guidance, New York and the other states become an idea or initiative, then I'll look upon it. But at the moment, I'm here in Cleveland.
Okay, good enough. Are you going to be offering any public performances of him while he's here?
We will be, and as soon as those become details, we will certainly let you know about
Great,
that.
so we can help promote it, because
Great.
folks need to hear and see him. And talk about being a person. He's so personable. and that charming smile, I bet he gets a lot of girls in trouble with that personality. You think so, Gare?
Well, it's a well-known fact that women are crazy about violinists.
Oh, okay, folks. Well, thank you so much.
That's why I wish I could play.
Oh, well, you play baseball, so. Okay.
I know I write about baseball. I don't play.
Well, that segment's coming up momentarily.
Well, Anele, I wanted to ask you about one thing that people who know nothing about violins, into which category I would fall, is even those of us who know nothing about violin music have heard of a Stradivarius. What kind of violin is that, first of all, and is there really something special about a Stradivarius that sets it apart from other types of violins? Have you ever used one?
I think it can be a matter of taste. It can be a matter of personality, what you like. The Stradivarius instruments, a lot has happened around the world since the wars, the chemicals to the air, the trees. You do not get the same. You can go to the same forest in Italy because of the atoms on the soil and everything. A lot of things have changed. Stradivari was a great craftsman. But personally, I like the Guarneri del Gesso violins. And I play on a 200-year-old French violin, which is at my apartment now. I came here, I tried this violin at Rainey, made in 1944 by Thomas Smith in Lakewood.
Practically new.
Yeah, practically new.
And you got to watch out, made in China too, so.
It's in Lakewood, actually it's made here.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Yeah, and there are certain colors that you like. For me, I like more of, for instance, like this one. I like that kind of masculine sound.
Yeah, got some depth to it.
I like that kind of sound. And it's got power, even if you're too... Even when playing really challenging concertos, which I'll be doing later in South Africa, the Vinyavski concerto, it can handle it. It can really handle it. There's a strong progression from violin making from Stradivarius era and now. And I think some people have tried playing on a Stradivari instrument or a Guarneri del Gesso, and they go to a violin maker and say, could you please make me a copy of the Stradivari? And then you find that the copy is actually better than the Stradivari.
Than the original, yeah.
Than the original. Because with science, with engineering, with everything, a lot of things have progressed.
Technology, you name it, yeah. Are you still using, what, catgut, or what is the current?
No, this is steel string.
Steel,
yeah.
Okay.
And they're wonderful strings. I mean, this is a Rainy instrument where I asked Lee when I'm here, Lee, may I please play on this violin in the 3 months that I'm here? Because I mean, if you...
It can breaks.
Yeah, it can sing like a bird.
Yeah. Okay. Something I was just getting ready to say. So your personal violin, according to your bio, you were awarded that, right?
Yes. The violin is on loan from Miyagi. Music is a great investment in South Africa, and David Hra Foundation. So, but they fund some talented artists, and then they have an instrument library that they buy the instrument and then they let you use it.
Oh, sounds fantastic. Yeah. So right now your life is quite blessed and full of joy and sunshine.
Definitely.
But as Lee asked us off camera, that we should have checked with you. Tell us a little about your boyhood, growing up in, did you grow up in Cape Town?
Yes.
What was that like for you?
Well, you know, growing up in Cape Town is, I mean, I grew up in an informal settlement. So there is no sense of structure, no sense of security, no sense of protection, no lack of facilities.
Now, wait, correct me. Was Cape Town one of the cities before things changed, like shanties and shacks
I mean, all over South Africa, there's informal settlement in every province.
Okay.
And growing up, it was tough. The reality, it's tough growing up in South Africa. I grew up from a single parent when my father passed away when I was 2 years old.
So you didn't really know him.
You don't know. And then you have this mother that brings you up and wants to instill that space where you don't feel like there's no father. And sometimes as a boy growing up, because you get beaten up in the street, you get a collective of friends to feel a sense of belonging, a sense of friendship and, and security. And there was, at the time where I grew up, there was really, really, really bad crime. Really, really, really bad crime. People used to get at their houses, get arrested. About 80% of the guys that I went to school with ended up in jail or they died.
Okay, that's believable.
Yeah.
Were you able to go to a real school as a youngster?
Yes, I went to a real school, which was a good school where they initiated the project to start to play the violin. And if I had not started playing the violin, I could have maybe been dead by now, or had a jail sentence or a criminal record, because I always had something to look forward to.
Yes.
After school, so music did save my life. There were guys that I played with at the project, but they were so infatuated by the glamour of gangsterism, with the money and everything that.
Well, we've had that here in America.
Yeah, they were infatuated by it, and they ended up having jail sentences. And when they come back, 10 years later, you are somewhere else. And I mean, I'm fortunate now not to live no more in the informal settlement of in a better neighborhood.
Is your mama out? Is she in a nice neighborhood?
My family, look, it's not a big problem for people who are old, because they are at home. Because we have a young democracy, there is a strong sense of jealousy amongst young people.
Okay.
They don't want to see another young person being better than them. I mean, I've been attacked a couple of times, and gone to hospital, because you must be where you are. Otherwise, when you are progressing, it intimidates other people.
We have that here in our schools, too.
It creates envy. So it is important to show less than what you have and say less than what you know.
Okay.
It's very important. So for me, I can progress very quickly and achieve things being out of the township, living in the suburb areas, because nobody knows about it. It matters to nobody, but the fact that there's always people, there's a strong sense of progression, it's important to be in that environment. I can concentrate and I can work hard. But in the township, there's real violence.
Still?
Yes.
Okay.
No, it happens, I think it happens after a 10-year era. During my era, when I was about 12, there was this serious gangsterism. Crime was really, really, really high. And then 10 years later now, there are other young boys, because people my age now, they're starting to outgrow those things. They start to realize that I live on a rat race where I keep on going to jail. So they back off. So now the ones that are younger, 10 years younger than us, or maybe 8 years younger than us, they get infatuated by the person that could come out of the prison because they have a big name. So now they try to be like them. So, I mean, my brother died from that. He was not a gangster, he was a cellist. But I mean, the ability, you cannot play the violin and be violent.
I understand.
It makes you a gentleman regardless if you like it or not. You cannot play beautiful sonatas, beautiful music by Mozart, and yet have a strong sense of aggression. My brother was a perfect gentleman. And if you screamed at children or you walked at the supermarket, everybody knew him. He loved for everybody. And we once encountered a guy harassing a lady, and he did not want to embarrass him in front of other people. He walked up to him and he whispered in his ear that, gentlemen don't treat ladies like that.
Okay.
And so the guy felt, who is this guy to tell me how to conduct myself? And this was at a party. So my brother walked away, and then later he called him to have a word with him, and he murdered him in that moment.
Well, the thing that...
And my cousin recently, who was also a cellist, that he got injured from trying to protect my brother in his hand, so he could not longer play cello for the rest of his life. So these guys were the same age, and one is missing and is permanently damaged for the rest of his life, he can also play cello. So he just committed suicide. I think one of the reasons, about 3 months ago, one of the reasons is that he could not face having to have somebody he grew up with as a child passing on and having his life been taken. He felt hopeless.
And so your story goes to show that, because when I taught classes, I used to say, become somebody who you are meant to be in spite of your background, instead of your background causing you not to succeed and become the person you are meant to be. So you are a beautiful example of having overcome your environmental background and connected with music. And as it is, it sounds like, well, you did say it, music has saved your life.
Yeah.
And now you can see here, thank you for having us ask that question, because that's a part of you that you'll always carry with you, but with less pain as time goes by, I hope.
Yeah. I mean, I could elaborate on that to say that within the nature of life, being uncomfortable is one thing that can test our faith. Having to move out of the township, it was not a decision that, hooray, tomorrow I'm out of here. It's circumstances where you need to survive. You need to make a choice. You know, having great friends who created the security, because you have a career that's coming up on the side and you are still in this environment. You know, it contradicts itself because you're trying to focus this side and you're creating envy, enemies of what you're coming up with. So I did not leave the township because I decided one day I'm going to wake up and there's the sunshine outside in the suburbs, so I'll rather go and enjoy it there. I left there because you're going to get murdered.
I understand, yes.
That was the reality. I left because you are going to get murdered, and sometimes you can encounter people in South Africa just, shooting somebody or murdering somebody up in front of you, and if you dare do know about it or you dare do become a state witness, you become a victim.
So life has no real value there.
Oh, of course not.
Yeah.
Of course not. Look, I mean, this is the strange thing for me about Africa. I look upon it, I love Africa. I love African people. I love the singing, the sense of community, the people. But there is something that when people travel into Africa, they don't understand. I mean, you go to Africa, every child is smiling, everybody is so happy. But if yet we are so happy, why is there this strong sense of violence? If we are so happy, maybe it's a lack of unconsciousness. I don't know. If we are so happy, why are we murdering each other? Why are we having fences over our houses? What's the point of it? Because back in the day, people in South Africa had a common purpose about 20 years ago, and African people. And that common purpose was to fight under the oppressive apartheid government.
Conditions, yes.
Yes, but now people don't have a common purpose to fight against. So we might as well fight against each other. We might as well not want to see each other succeed. And I think it should be a great inspiration for everybody to be inspired to see somebody look, because knowledge has been kept away from Africa for hundreds of years.
Yes.
And people now in my country, not people, the adults, because of my mother left school because it was kept on being disruptors of massacres and all that stuff. And she inspires me to go and get an education, to work really hard. She's been my great support. And I think with the youngsters my age today, it's freedom. They don't know what the sense of freedom is. For them, it's freedom of movement. Oh, I can go and have a glass of champagne in Camps Bay because, my siblings back in the day, they could not be in that neighborhood. I can go to the city in town without having to being asked for a pass. It's a lack of common sense. You find that common sense is not so common.
We have that saying here, too.
Yeah. This knowledge has been kept away for hundreds of years. I mean, besides music, I'm also studying a lot about the world, about society, about philosophy and psychology, about many things. And they're not aware of that. Today, there's knowledge, there's education, there's literature, there's all of this. It's there in your face. You allow yourself to be enlightened. Seek, get to understand why certain things are politically this way, why people conduct themselves in this way, why certain behaviors, why the world, it is the way it is. But we are so busy chasing happiness.
Mm-hmm. And on that note, with his wisdom and philosophy, and we could listen to him for a very long time, and I'm sure his story, you share parts of it with the Rainey students, so they have even more of a great impression of you, and you're an inspiration, so they keep their focus going, that they're goal-oriented, that they too, as bad as some of the kids' backgrounds may be here in Cleveland, it's nothing compared to what you have overcome in your native homeland. So, yeah, we've got to get to know Anele through his music, through his upcoming from his past experiences and the environment. So if you need to, call Lee Rainey at...
you can call Lee Lazar, too.
Oh, yeah, we can call Lee Lazar, too. At Rainey.
Just ask to speak to Lee and then talk to him.
The phone number here is...
216-881-1766.
Oh, no wonder you didn't answer. 1766, okay. So Lee and the staff here will tell you about opportunities where you may be able to see Anele. Certainly Rainey is known for its youth arts and education program with heavy emphasis on music. So check with Lee and the business office to see if you'd like to get your child involved in the programs, and to see if there might be an opportunity where you can see Anele in person while he's here. So with that, we thank you very much for joining us here at Wake Up and Live with the Arts, and we'll see you real soon.